I am Analyst Unit Vexrel of the Velkar Diplomatic Security Array. My designation carries weight in 3 security jurisdictions and 1 war tribunal, though I have never been required to testify in the latter. That distinction is something I have historically regarded as a sign of competence. Until today, the Velkar Axis Hub is not a place where errors are permitted. It is a transit station suspended in synchronized orbit above the central trade lanes, where 57 species exchange diplomats, intelligence assets, and occasionally threats that are politely labeled as misunderstandings. Every corridor is monitored. Every thermal fluctuation is logged. Every movement is categorized, indexed, and predictive modeled in real time. There are no blind spots. At least that is what the system reports. The first anomaly was not an infiltrator. It was a human. Humans are classified in our database under biological irregularity, low predictive value, high environmental disruption probability. This is a polite way of saying they break things without intending to. At the Axis Hub, they were everywhere, moving in clusters, carrying beverages of varying temperature stability, speaking loudly in tones that suggested confidence rather than information accuracy, and most importantly, constantly colliding with their environment. One human struck a directional holo sign and apologized to it. Another tripped over nothing and corrected their trajectory by falling into a seating arrangement. A third attempted to drink a liquid while walking and achieved what I can only describe as partial atmospheric deployment of beverage contents. I logged the behavior under systemic gravitational miscalibration events. Security personnel do not interfere with humans for such behavior. It is considered self-contained entropy. Harmless, predictable, ignorable. This assumption would later prove catastrophic. My assignment was simple: monitor diplomatic transit corridors for infiltration activity. Recent intelligence indicated the presence of a cloaked operative moving through Axis Hub security layers. Designation: unknown stealth class infiltrator, capable of optical, thermal, and neural scan evasion. In simpler terms, something was inside the station that should not be seen, and could not be seen. The first detection failure occurred at Corridor 7. Sensors registered a presence, then immediately negated it, then re-registered it 1 meter further down the corridor, then lost it again. This pattern repeated. I initiated manual tracking protocols. No results. My subordinate unit transmitted. Sensor ghosting persists. Probability of advanced stealth suite, 97.3%. I responded. Or sensor corruption. They paused. We upgraded them yesterday. I did not reply. That was when I noticed the humans again. Still moving. Still spilling things. Still existing in a state of controlled disorder. One of them dropped a heated beverage container near a security checkpoint and laughed as it rolled away. No urgency. No awareness. No concern. I found it inefficient. But then, something unexpected occurred. The cloaked signature I had been tracking past directly through that same checkpoint. And for 0.8 seconds, it flickered. Not enough to identify, but enough to confirm. Something physical had interacted with it. I reviewed the logs. There should have been no interaction. The infiltrator was classified as non-interactive with passive environmental systems. And yet, there had been disturbance. I marked it as coincidence. The humans continued to behave erratically. One bumped into a security drone and apologized to it. Another dropped a tray of food and simply retrieved it while stepping over 3 warning lines without noticing them. A third attempted to wave at a diplomat and accidentally activated an emergency door sequence. Security systems recalibrated. I increased monitoring sensitivity. And still, the infiltrator remained undetected, moving, breaching internal layers, approaching restricted diplomatic sectors. I began to feel something unfamiliar. Not fear, not yet, but structural discomfort, because the system was not failing in any traditional way. It was functioning perfectly, and still missing something. Then the second anomaly occurred. A human collided with a service cart. It was not violent. It was not significant. It was typical. However, the result was not. A heated liquid container detached during the collision. It spun through the air in a slow, uncontrolled arc and struck. Nothing visible, at least not to me, but the sensors reacted instantaneously. Every detection array in a 10-meter radius spiked. Thermal distortion, optical break, mass disruption, and suddenly, there was something there. I froze. The infiltrator's cloaking field had been disrupted. Not disabled, not bypassed, disrupted, like static interference in a perfect signal. For the first time, I saw it. Not clearly, not fully, but enough. A silhouette, refracted, incorrectly aligned with space. Then it moved, rapidly, attempting disengagement. Security alarms triggered. Finally, too late, I issued containment directives, but my attention kept returning to the origin point of disruption. The human, standing there, holding an empty container, looking confused. They said, "Oh, sorry," and walked away. I did not classify the human as relevant. That would have been irrational. Humans do not disrupt advanced stealth systems. Humans spill beverages. That is their function. Still, I logged the event. Unidentified cloaked infiltrator briefly exposed due to accidental thermal liquid dispersion caused by civilian human movement. I paused, reread it, then appended. Likely coincidence, but somewhere in my lower cognitive clusters, a question formed, one I did not yet have permission to ask. What if it was not coincidence? The Axis hub responded to the breach with immediate procedural precision. Containment grids activated across Corridor 7. Sensor sweeps intensified. Security drones formed layered patrol spirals. Every system designed to detect a hidden intruder was now operating at maximum sensitivity. And yet, nothing stayed visible long enough to be confirmed. The infiltrator moved like a contradiction in space. Every time a detection lock stabilized, it failed a fraction of a second later. I had never seen a stealth model this refined. It was not simply avoiding detection. It was correcting reality around itself. And then, the humans continued walking through it all. One bumped into a security drone. The drone recalibrated. The human apologized. The drone did not respond. It never did. Another human dropped a container of heated nutrient fluid near a scanning arch. The liquid splashed across the floor. A nearby diplomat slipped slightly. Security logged it as minor environmental hazard. No one considered it important. I did, because for 0.4 seconds, the infiltrator flickered again. It was following the humans, not intentionally, not logically, but physically. Their chaotic movement patterns intersected its pathing algorithm in ways no predictive model had accounted for. I flagged it. Possible correlation between civilian unpredictability and stealth destabilization. Then immediately downgraded it. Low confidence requires verification. The infiltrator breached internal access layers faster than expected. Not because security failed, but because it never remained stable long enough to lock onto. It was as if it understood every detection method before it was deployed. Security systems began compensating. Predictive traps, randomized scanning bursts, thermal inversion fields, neural signature triangulation. Nothing worked. Meanwhile, humans continued to behave as if none of this mattered. One laughed loudly while spilling a drink across a tactical floor grid. Another leaned against a classified access terminal while eating something wrapped in synthetic leaf material. The terminal briefly opened a restricted log, then closed. No one reacted, except me, because the infiltrator had passed through that exact corridor at that exact moment. And for the first time, it slowed. Not much, but enough. The moment occurred without ceremony. No alarm preceded it. No warning system flagged it. No tactical prediction model identified it as significant. A human, average build, civilian designation walked briskly through Transit Hall C. They were holding a hot beverage container. They tripped. Not dramatically, not heroically, just statistically. The container left their hand, spun, arced, and burst open midair. The liquid spread across the corridor in a chaotic pattern. It struck the floor, the air, and something else. For a moment, space bent, not visually, not dramatically, but measurably. The infiltrator was revealed. Fully, not flickering, not partial, fully present, standing only 3 meters from a diplomatic envoy. Its cloaking system failed completely. Overloaded, thermally destabilized, corrupted at the point of contact. The infiltrator froze. For 0.2 seconds. That was enough. Security drones locked instantly. Containment fields activated. The corridor sealed. And the assassin attempted to run. It did not get far. What followed was a controlled containment cascade. The infiltrator was no longer invisible. It was no longer theoretical. It was now a physical liability. Security units converged. But something unusual occurred. The infiltrator's technology was still partially active. It interfered with targeting systems. Not fully, but enough to cause hesitation loops in automated firing protocols. It was adapting, even exposed, even compromised. Then, another spill occurred. A different human collided with a service column. A second container burst. Liquid dispersion pattern intersected the infiltrator's movement vector. Its cloak attempted partial reactivation. Failed again. It stumbled. I realized something I did not want to accept. The humans were not helping. They were not targeting. They were not participating. They were interfering with precision itself. The humans remained unaware. One said, "Man, these floors are slippery today." Another replied, "Yeah, maintenance gonna hate this." They were discussing environmental inconvenience, while an interstellar assassin was being actively dismantled by accidental interference patterns. Security teams finally secured the infiltrator. Restraints engaged. Neural dampeners deployed. Cloaking field collapsed completely. It was over. And yet, the system logs showed something disturbing. The infiltrator had nearly succeeded, until humans repeatedly disrupted its predictive stability window. Not once, not twice, multiple times. By accident, I ran full analytical reconstruction, pattern overlay, temporal alignment mapping, interference vector tracing. The humans were acting as entropy generators. Their movement was statistically non-optimal. Their behavior was unpredictable at micro and macro scales. Their environmental interaction radius overlapped with stealth failure thresholds. The infiltrator had not been detected by security. It had been destabilized by chaos. I updated classification. Humans, unintended anti-stealth interference agents. That felt insufficient. I refined it further. Biological randomness field, generators capable of disrupting high-order cloaking systems through environmental stochasticity. Still insufficient, because it implied design. Humans were not designed for this. They simply were. Security agencies across the station attempted replication testing. Controlled simulation environments were established. Cloaked decoys introduced. Predictable human interaction models applied. Results failed. Every time. It only worked when real humans were present. Not trained. Not controlled. Not predictable. Actual humans. Their chaos could not be simulated. It could not be predicted. It could not be weaponized reliably. It simply existed. And that existence broke stealth systems designed for perfection. The infiltrator network collapsed within hours. Multiple hidden operatives revealed across the station. Not due to coordinated security action, but due to incidental human interaction zones overlapping their routes. One spilled drink, one collision, one dropped tray, one accidental door activation, one careless step into restricted thermal field. Each one sufficient, each one random, each one human. I submitted my final report to the Axis Security Council. It was the first time I had ever struggled to write a classification header. Subject category: humans. Revised threat interaction profile: none. Revised utility profile: critical. They requested clarification. I provided it. Humans are not efficient, I wrote. They are not precise. They are not reliable. But they are unpredictable. And in systems built on prediction. That makes them undetectable counters to stealth itself. I paused before adding the final line, then wrote it anyway. We did not uncover the infiltrator. We spilled coffee on it. The council requested a formal revision of human classification status. I recommended the following. Do not categorize humans as security assets. Do not categorize humans as threats. Categorize humans as environmental conditions. Because that is what they are. They are not the system. They are not the failure. They are the noise that makes perfect systems collapse. and in a universe built on invisibility. Humans are what you see when everything else stops working.